Hi, welcome to ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie. This is Judy Marlowe, and this is such an incredible day. Sierra Bender, who is a dear friend of mine from back when we played Little League softball and high school softball, is our special guest today. She has done some incredible empowerment work, really has gone through an out-of-body experience like myself, really found her way and really is doing such incredible inspirational empowerment work in the world. I'm so happy that she's our special guest and dear friend on this show today. It floors me how full circle we come. And she said it correctly in her Facebook post, a blast from the past. And I think it's got to be, in 2 years, it'll be my 40th class reunion.
Oh, my.
So it's got to be at least 40 years that I've seen.
Just yesterday.
Sierra. It is so exciting. We're so happy to really invite her to share her story and to use this platform to inspire people, to bring hope to people that really get down in this deep place, because I was there and I know what it feels like, and to hear her story when we spoke this week was really was very special. Was a really very special moment, a moment in time for us to reconnect and to talk about, the softball and the sports. It's really sports, but in our case it was softball, and hers was actually baseball before softball, because her father, she was sharing with me her father, Joe Bender, who was a very prominent person in town, and her grandfather, who was Raymond Rhodes, was very, very prominent in our town of Hawthorne with real estate. And there was such a unified family that brought so much to the town and brought so much to our community. And but her father sponsored a team.
That team that you were on?
No, I was going to tell you that I had to go to my resources. Pat Talaferro, I spoke to last night via text message. She was my softball coach when I was in Little League, Hawthorne Liquors. Now you can't use a liquor store to sponsor children because they don't want liquors a part of the children's education. But Pat Talaferro, Barbara Stewart, Karen Meyer, and Donna Timmerman were our softball coaches back then. And, I've told this story many, many times, how my sister is the one who was drafted onto the Hawthorne Liquors team. And I would just tag along with her.
Right.
And I would be out in the fields, like playing and hanging
around.
Run
around the field.
I used to run around, and Pat's like, "Who is that? Like, what are they doing?
Getting your exercise."
Pat's like, "Excuse me." She's like, "Ask your team. Does anyone know?" My sister's like, "It's my sister." So Pat's like, "Come here." So Pat was such a perfect and inspiring coach. She knew how to draw you in, to channel your energies in the way that you needed to channel it. And that was the beginning of my softball career.
You always had a lot of energy.
Yeah, but somebody had to channel it and teach me how to focus it. And Barbara Stewart, she was a third base coach, as I always am now. And she would go, stop, go on third base. Sorry, Barbara. Anyway, so that was an inspiring thing. So Mr. Bender, Lisa was a back girl, I found out last night, on her father's baseball team. And she would practice with them. So she She was. Oh my God. She is such a powerful, inspirational individual, woman who her arm and her power in her, and that's what we learned. Like I just said, Pat knew how to channel my energies, and our softball coaches back then all knew how to channel the energies. And
then later you became a coach.
Later I became a coach.
Many years later.
Well, not many years later.
No?
As soon as I went into high school, I became the coach for my Little League team. But the reason I said that was I had to reach out to Pat for some information about, okay, Pat, who, what, where. Pat knows everything. Everything about the softball world and about the team and everything. And we're just... And I said this in my promo, how blessed I am to have had the people in my life.
And they're very blessed to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
But I really feel blessed to have had the experiences with the people in my life. And I honestly feel that, God has a plan for me. Has a plan for me. I'm on that journey. I finally tapped into that journey. Sierra and I were talking about it the other day, how she was there for when I had my first concussion, when I got hit in the head with the bat when I was playing Little League softball. So it's going to be...
Was she there the day of the stroke?
No, I don't think so. We'll have to ask her. I don't know. But Sierra had an out-of-body experience, which this is why we wanted, not one of the reasons that we wanted to welcome her on the show, to tell her story and to bring hope to the entire world. She has traveled the world in doing her inner search. And she has an Indian heritage, I believe it's called, a Native American heritage, and she really did her studies and her inner work and her peace, and I can't wait to welcome her onto the show. Can we welcome her on? Mm-hmm. Sorry, Judy, I spoke too much,
okay.
But I'm just so excited and passionate about.
A Native American heritage.
Hello.
And, Hi.
Hi. Please turn down your radio, Sierra. Thank you.
Oh, you were listening to us? Listening to me rattle?
Yes, I'm listening to you girls. It's great.
Oh, thank you. We are so excited to welcome you. Sierra, I can't believe it'll be, how many years has it been since that we personally saw each other? It's got to be at least 40 years.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, I told you my 40th in 2 years. My 40th reunion is coming up.
Wow,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
It feels like it was yesterday.
I know. So I was just telling everybody about our history playing Little League softball together and how awesome you were, and I couldn't figure out what team you were on, but Pat did tell me your sister Lauren was on your father's team. Were you on your father's team as well? On your father's softball team?
No, that came after.
Okay.
My sister's 4 years younger than me, Lauren.
Okay, yes.
So that was afterwards, yes.
Okay. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So you tell us a little bit about your history, because I was sharing with everybody how it wasn't softball that started your career in sports. It was on your father's baseball team. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my dad was very athletic. He saw that I had that gift also. And the amazing part about my dad was he never treated like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do this. It was like, honey, go show them what you got. You can kick their ass.
Yeah.
So he started me on that kind of warrior path, that I can do whatever I put my mind to and be committed and disciplined. And he did an amazing job that way, with all of us.
Yep. Isn't it incredible, the people that God has in our lives to guide us, to mold? We spoke about this on the phone this past weekend, how how blessed we are to have grown up in this area, because you have traveled the world and you saw other women that aren't as blessed. Tell us a little bit about that, Sierra.
Well, I saw that other women were suffering like myself. It's like we could be beautiful, strong, powerful, successful. However, we're acting more like imitation men. And what does that look like to stand as a woman? And what's the value of being a woman? What does she bring to the table? So most of us women in our culture, especially growing up in New Jersey, in that area, Jersey girls, it's very warrior. It's tough. It's rough. And yeah, of course, we need those skills. But it was like, well, what would it be like, to stand in my own femininity, and what would that look like, and how does that work? And for me, I didn't have that. It was it was something that was missing. Like with the sports I loved is like we as women, as a team, it was amazing. But outside of that, growing up, I'm like, where are these women? Like, where is this group activity where we're team players? And
right.
You have to think too, when we grew up, many towns didn't have sports for women. They weren't as evolved as we were.
Yeah.
And so after that, I was kind of like, I went to college, I played, but it was never the same. I mean, I always thought like our team was like Charlie's Angels. Remember, people from all over would come and watch us because our team was so beautiful.
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
You're talking about our high school team? You're talking about our high school team?
Yeah.
Yeah. We also, as I said, we had played Little League together. We were in the same Little League league together. But moving forward, we played high school. And Sierra, she was dynamic. She began as a freshman. And her pitching arm would knock people. I mean, she was dynamic. She was perfect.
Oh, thank you. That's for you.
Oh my God, I always remember your pitching. I mean, that's what stands out in my brain is like, okay, let's put Lisa in. She'll be our.
We'll score a few points.
Yeah, she's done. Wait, did you take pitching lessons, Lisa? Sierra?
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
I know her by Lisa, but she has evolved, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. To go by Sierra.
I had a coach, and then I played for the New Jersey Bells, the Budweiser Bells. So I played for the state of New Jersey. So I traveled around the country when I was 16, and I had a pitching coach because we first started off with like the slingshot, and then I went into windmill.
Right, I remember your windmill.
Yeah, and then it was at the time my parents were in real estate, and they sold a gym. And they got a free membership, so I went, and it was just all these guys and bodybuilders, and they took me underneath their wing. I remember I was 14 and taught me how to lift weights and eat right, and the power, and the giant players used to train there. So I was blessed that way. They just kind of took me underneath their wing and like, come on, Sierra. And women at that time weren't lifting weights; they weren't doing those type of workouts.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what gave me my secret little
Did
push.
you ever have any inclination that all your experiences with Little League and your father coaching you and really inspiring you and our experiences through Little League, and then we get into high school and we were good. We were good. We were good.
We were
good. But we
worked hard too.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were good because we had the team unity around us to make us good. And our coaches, Pat and Mr. Greenwood. Mr. Greenwood was our softball coach. And he didn't, and nobody was better than anybody else. We were a team. And
we worked as a team.
Together as a team. And that's so the way it should be, that nobody's better than anybody. I know that a lot of people that follow me and watch his show heard me talking last week about 11 Rings, where Phil Jackson coached Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan was exceptional beyond everybody's expectation, everybody else. but he had to have a conversation with Michael Jordan to remind him and to really ask him to take a step back and to need his fellow team members, because you can't
be one person doing it.
Right. So so did you know that Sierra, did you have any inclination that of where your life was going back when we were playing all that?
Well, my goal was to get a scholarship. My goal was to work that hard to expand. Like I wanted to go outside of Hawthorne, New Jersey.
Right.
You know, I wanted to see the world, and I knew I could probably use my sports to get me there.
Right. Use it as a tool. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the tools. Right. And so it was, I had a conversation with my mom when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And I'll never forget this. And I said, I'm not getting married. I'm not having children. I'm going to tour the world.
Wow.
What did she say?
She kind of like looked at me like, okay, honey. You know?
That's but you know, it's just, you knew you had this insight, you know, and you knew like what you wanted to do. You didn't know how you were going to get there, and the tragedies that are going to inspire you to realize them. But you know, you got there. So you went to college, and then after college, what team did you play for, Sierra?
University of South Carolina.
University. So did you win anything with that, or because I know South Carolina is a grade A team, right?
Yeah, I didn't play for the full 4 years. I ended up coming back to New Jersey. When was it? And then I went to school, Bergen Community. I went there for 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I came back.
Okay. And why did what was going through your brain, like why you did that?
Why I did what?
Why you decided to not finish your education in that college and come back to Bergen Community?
Honestly, it was a little rough playing sports there. It wasn't the same of what I grew up with.
Right.
There was a lot of sexual assault, a lot of sexual abuse.
Wow.
I didn't feel comfortable in that environment, and it was actually very depressing because, you know, I worked so hard to get there.
Right.
And then I was like, this is not what I signed up for, and I just did not feel comfortable with the environment, and then I just said, I'm out.
Right.
Which I've never quit anything, so it took a hit, and it was like
you did the right thing. You did the right thing.
You know what, though? I have two thoughts on that. First of all, because we were talking the other day how important our youth, how important it is to train our youth and to educate them in the rights and the wrongs in life. And we had that basis back when we were in Hawthorne, right? So when you went off to college and you saw it wasn't right, you didn't acknowledge it. You didn't accept it. You made the right decision. And the other thing is that I have learned by me leaving two positions that I needed the money for, that sometimes it's harder to make the right choice and to you don't quit. You're not quitting on the organization. You're not quitting on the softball. You're quitting because you want to make the right choice for yourself. So I don't look at it like quitting. I think it's harder to make the right decision. So
right. Well, it led me to what I do now, which is women's empowerment and abuse of power, and
right.
So it was like it was all around me, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I didn't think it would be in that arena, and you know, again, it leads me to what I do now for a living, and confronting abuse of power in different situations, whether it's with the law, it was with sports.
Did you start to do this work before? Because that's what we're leading up to. We're leading up to your near death experience. But did you decide to do this while you were in college? Did you know your journey yet? Did you understand it yet?
Yeah, I did. And I just didn't know what to do with it and how to handle it. And at that time, people really didn't listen. You know, any type of abuse is one person's word against the other.
Yeah.
Where do you go? How do you handle it? you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position of attack.
Yeah.
You're bringing light to a subject matter that a lot of people don't want to pay attention to, or they're in denial and they get away with it. And I was like, why is this continually coming up in my life? And so it was just basically, God gave me a voice. I'm the oldest of four. I always had that voice. One of my teachers would always say, Sierra, that's your gift from God. You see what's not in the light of God, and you have a voice, and you use it, and you're not scared.
Yeah.
And to protect. And, even in sports, bringing it back to sports, being a captain, being a leader, being an elder, the oldest of four, and, looking over the ones that you love. It was very natural for me. Right. Very natural, and I loved it. And then it just showed itself in different ways of like, wow, okay, this doesn't sit right with me. And I had the voice and the confidence. Yeah. And I was used to get in trouble for it. Well, so, as a kid, but now it was my biggest gift.
Yeah, but you were doing what, and back to again that we had blessed coaches in our lives, whether they were teachers or coaches or family members that knew. That didn't hold us down, but taught us how to channel our voices in the proper manner, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Gave you both the tools to move forward in whatever happened in your lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, before we continue on this journey, where how you got to your out-of-body experience, your death experience. I always like to take the moment when it appears to let people know that, Sierra was just saying that, a long time ago, you couldn't speak your voice. You couldn't, if you were abused or you were sexually abused or if you're verbally abused, you want to speak up. But the thing that I love about Sierra's story and Sierra's presence is you have people now. She's got this. She calls it a tribe. She has this tribe of women that you don't have anybody around you that will believe you. Contact us. We'll support you. We'll listen. We'll start that journey. So thank you, Sierra. I really wanted to make sure that people knew that there are women, and there's a lot of women now that are starting this, but it took a long time. It took a long time to get to this point. So, anyway, I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. You too.
So we're at college. We're at Bergen Community, and so then you got married.
I did. I got married. I got married, and 3 months later, I got pregnant. I wanted to start a family, and I had a very rare tubular pregnancy that ruptured my uterus. I was 4 months pregnant. I died, and I came back.
Wow. That is so...
Yeah, and I knew something was wrong. Like, I teach also body's intelligence, and I knew something was wrong, and I was telling the doctors, to please be careful, watch over me, because I had an IUD at the time, and I know it creates tubular pregnancies, and I wasn't feeling right, and my body was telling me, and to me, it was another form of abuse of not listening.
Right. And you're talking about the doctors.
Yeah. And, you know your own body, not like, oh, you're just being oversensitive. It's just stress. Oh, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, no, my body's uncomfortable. Something's wrong. I went in there telling them to be careful in the beginning, and it ended up being a tubular pregnancy. I had an infection from the IUD, which created an infection, and so it was all there.
Right.
And I found out afterwards. I actually took the doctor to a trial, and I won.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a 30-day trial. It was really intense because I saw that, this is just another form of abuse. You're not listening, and I'd see all these women in the doctor's office.
Right.
And, it was like sonogram after sonogram after sonogram, $200 a pop, 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 but you're not paying attention to your patient.
Right.
And I saw this, and I was like, here we go. All right, Spirit, you're putting this one in front of me. And I confronted them on it. And, after the fact, after I came back, after I died and came back, and then I went to trial, and I actually put her out of business because of the injustice of what she was doing. And they finally found out that no doctors were reading these sonograms, and that's what happened to me.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was.
She should have seen it right away.
Well, not only should have she should have seen it, but she also should have listened to her patient who
what she was saying.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? A tubular pregnancy, that would have happened. I would have lost the baby. That just is. But my uterus wouldn't have ruptured. I wouldn't have bled to death. At that time, AIDS was going around, so 80% of my blood I lost. I had to have the blood transfusions, and then every 6 months I had to go get tested.
Wow.
And so that was just extra stress, extra unnecessary, for my life to be in that trauma. My marriage ended, and that was the end of that. But the beauty of it is that, I knew my body. I knew this wasn't my life. This is who I was conditioned to be. Get married, have kids, live happily ever after. And like I said, I had that conversation with my mom at 7, like, I'm not getting married. I'm traveling the world. I don't have this kind of free time, and so I always had that spirit. And, I always had my conversations with God and spirit, and I just knew who I was at such a young age. But I just kept, it's like fine-tuning a radio station. I just kept going further and further away from my true, authentic self. Right. And that blessing actually brought me back to who I am and what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Sierra, I'm just wondering, did you have a conversation with God?
Absolutely. I had a conversation with God in Christ, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. Also humorous.
That's what I wanted to.
Yeah. I was told that love is not just an emotion. It's the most powerful force, grounded by action and responsibility. Sierra, where are you not loving you? And spiritually, where did you disconnect from the source of my love? Mentally, what were the belief systems from media, through your culture, that took you further away from the source of my love? Emotionally, why are you continually punishing yourself, not feeling worthy of my love? And then physically, why do you consistently resist my love? Why do you keep picking the same actors and actresses in your life who tell you you're not worthy? Right. And I can answer those 4 questions like that.
Right. Now, did this happen while you were crossed over?
Yes.
And how long were you? I mean, I know that I shouldn't say I know, but in my world, I always talk about my world because I can only talk about what happens to me, is that when I was risen up and had that out-of-body experience, life stopped below. Like the time that I spent talking to God really didn't make time move on the earth.
I understand that. I understand.
Yeah. So how and also I have another question for you. Isn't it reverent to be in that place where you're surrounded with the love and the abundance of love that's in heaven?
Yeah, it's so hard to put words to it. I tried to do that in my book, to have it's just so overpowering and in a beautiful way that you can't even put words to it. It's just so expansive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's so huge that even the human mind for me was like it was so much to handle that my mind, the human mind, couldn't even grasp it all. It was more of a feeling.
I think in my world, I feel that when I was pulled up to heaven, that it was like he put little seeds in me. And he planted all this stuff that when he put me back down on my body, because of course I asked to go back down because I had too much work to do, I had to then start nurturing myself and started to grow. And I was actually born again on that day, April 8th, which is my 30th reunion, my 30th anniversary. So I understand it. And I think that I feel that God has, you had all that in you when you went up, but it was like, okay, now it's time to use it and channel it,
Yeah, I always had a very strong connection to God, to spirit, but what what was around me was everything was like a contradiction. Who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to be, and it was very confusing. So it was like, how do I be the best version of myself and stop the noise on the outside? So it's always going in and listening, and I stopped listening. That's like spiritually, that where did you disconnect from the source of my love? I stopped listening. I used to pray every night. When we're children, you're very connected. You could connect through animals. You could connect through nature. God is not just in a church.
Right.
And there's different ways that we connect. And I stopped connecting. I stopped listening. And that took me out of alignment.
I feel God is with you all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
You just have to listen.
Absolutely. I'll never forget Mary Help Christians. I've always been involved with them. And one time I was singing Let There Be Peace on Earth. And I was going to rehearse with the nun who was the organ player. So I go there, and one of the sisters, my mom's teacher, said to me, come on, we're going to go pray. And I went and we prayed, and then I rehearsed, and then I thought I was being smart, and I go kneel down, and she goes, up, is it okay?
No, we're good.
Okay. She goes, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm going to say goodbye to Jesus and God. She says to me, they're always with you. You can't say goodbye to them. And I thought I was being so smart to pray before she told me,
Do you want me to read Sierra's quote?
Well, what quote is it?
It's right there.
Okay, so I actually just pulled something from your incredible website, which if anybody would like to read more of course we're going to continue to talk, but if anybody wants to read any of Sierra's story or she's got such an empowering website. It's www. What is it, Sierra? Sierra.com. Sierra, tell us what your website is.
I have two. I have sierrabender.com, and then I have the 4bodyfitinstitute.com.
Right. So so I pulled something from there that I would like Judy to read about your women are constantly faced with choices and demands.
Women are constantly faced with choices and demands. They can achieve great success in life, yet they still have a deep, nurturing center that longs to be expressed and fulfilled. They want to be a leader for their families and communities and attain all that they desire, require, and deserve. How can women fully manifest their power while honoring their fluid and flexible feminine nature? After traveling down this road herself, Sierra Bender experienced a hard-won spiritual breakthrough and discovered that the answers to her questions couldn't be found in traditional healing systems or in our spiritually discounted society. They were found quite simply within.
That's it. Yeah. There's and Sierra, when I look at your website, and you have so much information to channel and so much wisdom, after your experience with your death experience, because you did die on the table. It's not like you had a near-death experience. You actually passed on the table. Am I correct?
Yes, it was horrific. Yes.
Do you remember, aside from the beautiful moment that you had to experience in the love and the abundance of love in heaven, do you remember any of the pain that you had to suffer?
Especially when you came back into your body.
I remember all of it very, very clear. I remember, it happened on Christmas Eve.
Oh.
And I was bleeding internally. And so here's the thing, when I say to people about, here I am, an athlete, a personal trainer, the peak of my career. I had everything you could ever imagine, but I just still had like this hole in my heart, like nothing was making me feel content. Like, okay, I'd reached that goal. All right, next. Like just never satisfied. And what happened is when on Christmas Eve, when my uterus ruptured, I thought I pulled an inner thigh muscle because I was working out that day.
Right.
My uterus ruptured. Like, hello, how present am I in my body? So here I work out every day. I look great. I'm in shape. You know, I come at it from a physical perspective. I'm rough. I'm tough. But I was also so abusive to myself, you know, meaning so hard on myself.
Right.
That my uterus ruptured and I didn't even feel it. I just keep moving. I'm like, are you kidding?
Right.
So it was like, slow down, stop, look, listen, and feel, you know, more the feminine energy, not just feminine meaning woman. But, you know, especially growing up in the New York minute, you're go, do, success, which I had that down, but I didn't know how to stop, look, listen, feel, relax, nurture, self-care. And that really, after this experience, it really put me flat on my back. And it's like, you need to look at this. And so my whole perspective of being in shape changed.
Right.
And those 4 questions that I was asked by God became now a clinically proven method. What happened was I saw so many other women were doing the same. Like right now, even today, it's like we have the highest statistics of abuse, heart attack, you know, breast cancer. You cannot have women's empowerment without women's health. You can't have women's health without women's empowerment.
Right.
So we're driving ourselves into a wall to do what? To prove what?
Right.
How worthy we are?
Right.
How great we are?
Right.
Well, and who's supposed to tell you that? The outside world? No. And that was one of the things I needed to learn for myself. I am all that. And I have to give myself permission to say it's okay.
And you have to feel it. You have to feel it.
Yeah, to feel it. So after this experience, you know, after passing over, I'm like, wow, my uterus ruptured. You know, you need to pay attention to that, like the most beautiful part of a woman's body, you know. And so I wasn't paying attention.
Right.
I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't listening. And although I had the great success and everything on the outside, it was taken away in a split second because it was really coming from a place of will and greed, and not from God and spirit in a way of being able to hold it, sustain it, and allow it to grow and expand.
Yeah.
So I learned a new power, you know, and that's what empowerment actually means, pulling forth what's already within you. I was always power over, not power in and expand. And that is the feminine.
Right.
And so that's exactly how my own experience. And then, you know, if I didn't experience the pain, how am I supposed to help other people? So like you said, I knew when I came back who I was, why I was here, who I had to forgive, what I needed to let go, because I didn't have that kind of free time. Mm-hmm. And it was more or less my righteous anger of, is like, I'm giving my power away if I continually blame, if I continually stay angry at someone for something. And it was like, okay, what did this person teach you? What does this person come here to show you? My whole perspective changed because I was giving my power away by staying angry, by remaining a victim. Now, victim means sacrificing yourself. I was done sacrificing myself. It was more or less like, okay, I got this. This person came into my life to show me this, to teach me this. Done.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. I'm that way too. I don't, you know, because of the experience that we've had, we don't want to waste time. We know the value of life.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
and sometimes I think, I don't want to say most times, but the average earthbound person doesn't understand that. They waste too much time on silly things as far as I'm concerned. But I think that it takes us who have experienced it, the way we were talking about it on the phone the other day, that we need to teach them. And that's what you're doing on this in your life now, is you're teaching people, you're loving people, you're the example for people to know that what they need to do, and it's okay to feel that way. It's okay.
Right. Absolutely. Not deny my emotions, feel them, but not let them take control. of my destiny.
Right.
You know, it's more or less of honoring them, validating them, channeling them.
Yeah.
How do I channel this? So everyone always says, Sierra, how did you start this? I'm like, my righteous anger. They're like, what? I go, I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed to seeing what's going on in our world. I was pissed to see so many people suffer when they don't have to suffer. You know, and I was like, come on, wake up.
Yeah.
So that's the sports part of me, and going back to the warrior part of, let's go. We don't have this kind of free time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm your biggest cheerleader, but at the same time, I want to hold space for you. I want to hold a loving space for you because you're better than that.
Yeah.
And you know that you are. You just need someone to support you and hold you and tell you.
Yeah.
And as society, you know, I feel that sometimes we're lacking that. It's just more or less honoring emotions. And, you know, I say to women, you know, they throw their emotions over their shoulder. Like, I don't have this kind of free time. I got to go pick up the kids. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm like, emotions is part of being a woman. And when we deny those emotions, we deny our identity as a woman. We deny ourselves, and this is why we get sick.
Yeah. But I was gonna say something, and I forgot what I was gonna say. Doesn't matter. It wasn't meant to be said.
What?
Right? You can't worry about it.
It's gonna come back.
You can't worry about it.
It will come back, right?
Yeah. So, you experienced this. You separated from your husband, and then you went on this world tour of inner searching yourself. And I love the fact that you visited the Dalai Lama's home. You are Native American reservations. Talk to us about that, because that is so grounding.
Yeah. I said, you know, modern medicine, I'm blessed. It saved my life, but it didn't heal me.
On the inside.
Yeah, and after my experience being in hospital, I was actually at Ridgewood, and it's really interesting, you know, the synchronicity of life. I always say, you can't make this shit up, excuse me, but the doctor that I originally went to told me that I was pregnant. I was like, I wanted to do it holistically and, you know, more natural, and he was like your typical doctor, and he wasn't really happy with the things I wanted to do, and I left him, and I went over to a midwife center, which was in Englewood, that was affiliated with a doctor.
Right.
And I was kind of trying to psych myself into this, right, being in the health industry and wanting to do this. And when I had this experience, they couldn't take me to my hospital because the ambulance has to take you to the nearest hospital, so they had to take me to Ridgewood. Wow. However, Christmas Eve, nobody's in the hospital, right? My. Not much going on Christmas Eve. So I didn't have my doctor there. I didn't have anyone. And Dr. Rakowski, I'll never forget this, he was there doing rounds. And he saved my life. Now, he was a Vietnam doctor. So he knew how to work out in the field, very quickly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I knew they were rolling me down the hallway into the operating room because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And, you know, everyone's poking and prying because I wasn't bleeding externally. It was internally. Mm-hmm. And everyone, I could feel their compassion. And I just kept praying. You know, I found prayer again. Like, God, please help me. This is just too painful. And anytime somebody put their hands on me, I could feel the pain would subside. And I just said, please, everyone, just put your hands on me. And I could feel that the light of God, or their compassion, is coming through them, through their hands into me. And as soon as they took their hands off, it was like razor blades.
Wow.
And then finally they found out what it was. They realized, they did an internal sonogram and realized that my uterus ruptured. And then all of a sudden I'm rolling down the hallway. I knew I was dying. And I said, I can't hold on. Like, my ego was so strong. Like, they said, you were in such great shape. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here right now. But I just wouldn't let go. And when I did finally let go and I surrendered, it was amazing. Like, okay, I'm being held.
It was freeing. It was, like being allowed to fly, you know, the freedom to fly.
Yeah, it was letting go of this physical body that we could be so attached to, or so disattached to. Like, oh, I don't want to be in my body, or I'm so in my body that, you know, I don't want to let go. And that was me. I didn't want to let go. It was like, what are you talking about? And I remember they put me on the operating table and they forgot to turn on the oxygen. So I was in convulsions and they tied my feet and my hands down.
Oh my gosh.
And and it was like just my will though to survive. That's what it was showing me. Like, I'm not going down.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I remember just kept wrapping my head and I finally, the oxygen mask came off. I took my last breath. And then fast forwarding, it was like everything I teach is about breath. You know, it's where there's breath, there's consciousness. Where there's consciousness, there's love.
Right.
Love, not just an emotion, but the most powerful force, grounded by action, responsibility. So I remember watching myself, you know, watching the operation. He took my uterus out of my body.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, everyone wanted to do hysterectomy. He's like, no, she's too young. So he sewed my uterus back up, put it back into my body. And I know that every Christmas Eve, like, you know how your body has cellular memory, I would feel that. Like, wow. I would feel, you know, when you have a trauma or something like that, your body needs to heal. Wow. So after that, you know, this man saved my life. And I had a conversation with him. And he came into my room the next day, and the nurse came in. You know, I had my conversation with God, and I was like, was somebody in here sweeping the floors or something?
Right,
you know?
Right.
And she's like, no, honey, you're the only one here on the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, are you sure? You know, because I'm thinking, okay, now I'm back. I felt like I fell from the sky. See, I didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
So I was bribing God. I was like, no, I don't want to come back. I want to stay here. No, I want to stay here.
And I wanted to come back. I'm like, okay, Lord. And I was telling Sierra on the phone the other day, I was arguing with God. Okay, God, I hear you. Whatever you want me to do, just put me back down in my body. I have work to do.
Thank God you're both
like, I don't want to go. 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 And it felt like I fell from the sky.
So I just want to make you aware, we only have a few more minutes, so I do want to cover your new center, which is really like everything that has encompassed your education and your wisdom and your journey to visit the Dalai Lamas, and just everything is. Am I correct? This is the place that it's a center?
Excuse me, I went off on track. So, so after that...
that's okay. You'll always be guided, you know, to say what God wants us to say.
Yeah, so after I came back, and it was really painful, you know, because I had such a beautiful experience, and then I didn't know who to talk to. Because at that time, you know, for me, it was pretty scary about, oh my God, I had a conversation with God. Who's going to believe me? Who's going to believe what I have to say? And it was, don't tell anyone. You know, God just kept telling me, this is your experience. You need to protect yourself.
Wow.
And so I literally packed my bags. And I said my marriage was over. I knew that, you know, God told me this is not the man for you and this is who you are. And I didn't know what to do, where to go. It was practicing detachment of what my life was and where my life is going. And then I ended up somehow, some way in Kripalu studying yoga. And because I prayed every night, I said, you know, I know what I felt was real on the other side. I know it exists on this plane, in this world. I'll go anywhere in the world to find it. And I ended up in India.
Wow.
I ended up on Kripalu Center, which is up in Massachusetts, front steps, learning yoga. And that helped me really release all the cellular memory of the operation of my life, of so many different things. And then I knew I was done with that. You know, I was like, okay, I mastered my heart, I mastered my mind, but something's missing. And what was missing was like, how do I take this, channel this love through my body into this plane, because it's so intense. How does it come to me and through me? And how do I walk it on this plane like Christ? And Christ came through when I was when I passed over, and Christ was basically for me the person, like the middleman that I could see, I can understand, I could feel, I can talk to, I could see another human being that actually lived on this plane. and was talking to me
Right.
about how to do that.
Right.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I went out searching, just as if Christ, went out for 40 days in the desert. I felt like the same. It's like, where's
Right.
the answers? Where is it? I'll go anywhere around the world because this is not my reality any longer. I don't want this. This is too painful. And it was more painful to stay stuck than it was move forward. So I just kept asking God, what's the next step? Where do you want me? I felt like my body was a pendulum. It was like, just listen to your intuition, which is the bridge to the voice of God, your higher self. Your higher self knows.
Right.
And that's what I did. It was a muscle. It's a spiritual muscle that I strengthened. And it took me around the world into the most amazing spaces and places where I found God and what I experienced on the other side here on this plane. Mm-hmm. And it just kept ever unfolding. So after doing the heart and the yoga and all that, I was like, this is a little too airy-fairy for me to, it's just too much up there. Right. I need to be more, I'm more physical. I need to be more down here. What's missing? And then that's how I ended up working with Native Americans and indigenous cultures. It was like,
right. You could bring that to nature. You're back to the basis. 5 minutes.
Back to the basics of honoring my body, the container, back to the basics of gratitude, prayer, the power of prayer, honoring my food, honoring my body, honoring my tribe, honoring what's here on earth, Mother Earth, and that's how the goddess came about. The most powerful goddess of all is Mother Earth. Goddess actually means diva, deva, which means a woman who's able to channel the light of God to her and through her eyes, through her hands, through her heart, through her body, through every ounce of her being, no matter what she does.
Wow.
Comes through the light of God.
Wow.
And she's here to heal and teach this love. And that's truly the definition of what a goddess is. But in our culture, it's considered to be, the Venus Raiser or diva,
right.
How words can disempower us. So that's how I set out on the journey. Like, I need answers. I want answers. Wow. And I wasn't getting them in the traditional way, medicine or traditional religion or what's going on. I'm like, no, this isn't it. I need to go deeper, 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 deeper.
Right.
And then that's how I found it.
Wow. Your story is just so inspiring to everybody because we all have our trials and tribulations in life. Of course, this interview, this conversation is not going to end. Because I told Sierra when I was on the phone, like one of my checkoff things is to come down to Florida and to visit her and her center. And maybe we could do a show from there so that we could be live. We could visit your center. That would be awesome. And then what I was thinking was also maybe we can make it like a Hawthorne day. Like we'll invite everybody from Hawthorne down to the center,
Oh my God, that would be amazing. A blast from the past is right? You just go back to your roots.
Yes. And this would be a great thing that we could all come together and really join our energies together and really inspire everybody, re-energize ourselves because, life is about re-energizing yourself and filling your soul back up so that you can have the powers to go out and really make a difference in the world in our own ways, We only have like 3 more minutes. So 2 things. I would like to give you this opportunity to share with everybody, if you don't mind making briefly, your last thoughts about your passion.
Wow. My last thoughts about passion.
Whatever comes to you, Sierra.
Passion. Well, that's what makes you thrive, right? And passion for me has always been God working through me. When people say, well, what's your passion? It's like my passion is to help, to be of service the best way I can without sacrificing myself.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the biggest lessons. But that is my passion. Is I'm here for a short period of time. I don't have this kind of free time.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah. We're here.
That's my passion. Is like whatever is not in alignment with Creator God. As my teacher says, you're the warrior of light. You are here. You're on a mission. Like, get in there.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
Yeah. So before we end, 2 things. Do you mind chanting? Do you mind singing some of your song for a minute on the way out?
No, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have my drum on me, but
what's that?
I don't have my drum on me, but yeah,
Oh,
sure.
that's okay. We could feel the beat.
All right.
But before we begin that, I want to thank Stephen for coming in today.
Oh,
Thanks,
my
Stephen.
pleasure. It's been very interesting listening to this wonderful woman.
Yes, she's a dear, and we want to send our hearts and thoughts out to Jim because he had a back surgery, and we really want to make sure he is fully healed before he returns. So thank you, Stephen, for coming in and
my pleasure.
Really replacing him. It meant a lot. We didn't wish it was an important show. So anyway. So thank you to everybody. We're going to let Sierra roll us out and then we'll go. But we really want to thank everybody. Thank Sierra. Thank everybody that's watching. Barbara Stewart, Kathy, Michael, Ursula, Giselle, everybody that's watching, Lori, that tuned in today. We're really grateful. And I am so honored.
Support.
Oh, Sierra, we're here no matter what. We may be a couple of thousand miles away from each other, but
we feel very close.
Yes,
we're
here.
I know, right? It's and I can't wait to continue our conversation, our relationship, and
yes.
It's amazing your story. Also, what you're doing out there in the world and educating in stroke is so high today with women. It's
Yeah. This show is about educating people on strokes and aphasia, but it's also about bringing people hope, about bringing music into the light and really bringing the spirit into the world. I mean, I believe that it's God and Jesus, but sometimes I don't like to channel that. Only because I want people to know we're all one. It doesn't matter what you believe in, what you don't believe in. I don't want to segregate anybody. I want everybody to know that you're loved, and love is the answer.
And we care about all of you.
Yes. So, and I know you feel the same, Sierra. You feel the same.
I do. That's the beauty of traveling the world and seeing all the different ways that people connect to spirit, God, creator, whatever that means to you. And it's just a matter of getting alignment and get in touch.
Yep. So we'll Judy will book you again. We're gonna schedule my visit to Florida, and but let's roll on out with you. Yay, me too. Well, let's roll on out with a little spiritual chanting.
Okay.
Take it away.
Oh wow. Dun-dun. I got it. Oh, great spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside and all around me. Oh, great spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside and all around me.
Woo! Thank you, Sierra. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me sing.
Oh, music is...
You have a beautiful voice.
Yes.
Well, thank you. It's like the native part. I don't know. It just comes through. As you know, Renee is an amazing singer, and it comes through your toes,
Yeah, and it puts everybody in a different space. It puts everybody in that equal, balanced, loving space that we're all united. We're all united. That's why I wanted you to do that. Thank you, Sierra. We'll continue this conversation. It's not ended. Thank you to everybody, Mr. Greenwood, Pat, Barbara, Donna, everybody that has coached us in our lives, Dominic Cordelessa, whoever has been there for us in our lives. We are so blessed.
God bless you all.
God bless.
Judy Zimmerman.
Yes, Judy Zimmerman. Everybody. But like I said, in my extra inning book, you will see the conversation, and I will add the photos in later on when we have a chance to do it. Or maybe you could put it at the end when this final song is on. Maybe you can slide them in. We'll see. Thank you so much, Sierra. We always blow kisses. You ready? Let's blow our kisses. Bye, everybody. God bless. Have a stroke of luck.
Can't wait to see your next book.